Okay, so some random fluff, random lore, rarest and most unique items from WoW. Let's try. Let's see.
In Warcraft, there are a lot of rare items, but, after 20
Why is it in Russian? Quality. Uh, Subtitle. English. Where is English? Here it is.
In Warcraft, there are a lot of rare items, but, after 20 years of Warcraft's existence, it's worth starting to differentiate between a rare item and a hard-to-obtain item. For example, there's
This is true. This is true. Like there is like the low drops, and there is like the actual you get to if you're playing with a friend. Check this fucking thing that is fucking like is fucking wearing. Like you have like you can see the difference. Let's check this out.
the Invincible, the most coveted mount from the Wrath of the Lich King, but now, according to statistics, 19% of players have it, although it was once considered a great fortune to obtain it. In short, in this video, I want to gather stories about the rarest and incredibly unique items, titles, and exceptionally rare buffs to gather stories
No, actually, just noticed that
about the rarest and incredibly unique items, titles, and exceptionally rare buffs that are owned by only one player, or at best, a small handful of lucky individuals in the game, or even fewer. Let's go from the older expansions to the newer ones. In Anil, there were several stories of how players obtained items in a single instance. Since these stories are quite well known, I won't dwell on them too much. I will not. The Talisman of Binding Shard. This legendary necklace accidentally dropped for a group of raiders who were running Molten Core.
so this necklace was actually visible. Like it will like show something on your neck, if I remember correctly.
The item was not supposed to end up in the hands of players, as the talisman was a test item that was meant to be removed upon release. The legendary item wasn't powerful, even by the standards of that time, and since the item had already been given to one lucky player, a member of the group, a warrior, the developers allowed the player to keep the item. After that, the item was removed.
Here it is. Like this was like how it looked like, kind of like necklace, but like just back in the day.
From the loot tables, and the warrior from that raid became the first and last owner of this talisman. For many years, the warrior kept the talisman on his account, but at some point, the talisman disappeared from his armory. Therefore, either the developers decided to remove such items over time, or the warrior took off the talisman and placed it somewhere in the bank. The current fate of the talisman is unknown. Another quite famous story happened with another warrior by the nickname Narshi. Once, Nashi had a minor problem with his reliable Mechanostrider mount. He accidentally deleted it, so he contacted a game master to help him restore his mount, but instead of the usual solution, the game master decided to gift him the only fluorescent green Mechanostrider in the world. This instantly made the player a legend, as I
What
think
the fuck?
every player of that time dreamed of having something unique to them. However, this story is quite sad because a little over 10 years later, the developers decided to take away this legendary mount. Allegedly, Nasher attempted to sell his account on the Ovnetcore platform. At least, a person with his nickname posted at the end of Pandaria to find out how much his account with such an ultra-rare mount might be worth. There, as he was indeed informed, if skins from CSGO are being bought for $10,000, or perhaps even more, then you can probably expect a similar amount. Sometime later, the same
I really don't know how the fuck they fucking find out the people that try to sell their like rare items. Like now selling accounts and stuff like it doesn't really matter. But well, don't do it. It's still legal, right? But like look at these criminals. But at the same time, like back in the days, they always found the fucking people selling accounts. It must be an IP thing or something. But like they even find the fucking like posts. It's like My friend, internet is fucking vast. It's large. How the fuck do you find this random dude try to sell his random account? Like, even if it like, do you fucking like like follow the people that you offer stuff to? Like, like, am I the only one fucking like amazed? Like, they always fucking find people try to fucking sell their account once they have like something a little special about it. Like, millions of players playing WoW, one dude gets found out on a random server.
Player posted again, this time with a specific offer to sell the account to the community. Initially, users were quite skeptical about it. After all, any random person can claim, I own an ultra rare mount, here's my Bitcoin wallet, send money. But it seems that verified forum users confirmed that yes, this is a real person, and you could even talk to him in the game. Allegedly, Narsha intended to sell the account for approximately $10,000 to $15,000. However, these manipulations were noticed by the developers who decided to teach the player a lesson.
How the fuck do you know this? I guess like IP must be IP, but at the same time, well, like the dude like keeps his mount for like 10 years, right? And they're like, bro, like you try to do something. You try to do something like sketchy with your account. Go fuck yourself. We already know. Like, who are you?
They decided to take away his mount and replaced it with the most ordinary Mechanostrider. This meant that he lost what made him one of the most unique players in Warcraft. Probably, his mistake was that he was selling the account publicly. Anyone could go to the forum and see this sale announcement. And considering that he was quite a notable and well-known figure, he couldn't remain unnoticed for long. A few more times, unique items were obtained in Burning Crusade, Lich, and the Battle for Azeroth. Let's go through them in order. Ezra Chatterton is a well-known boy in the community who loved Warcraft. He started playing the game with his father, but unfortunately, Ezra had a problem, a terminal illness, that was rapidly taking years from his life. Since he loved Blizzard games, he reached out to the Make-A-Wish Foundation to help him fulfill his long-standing dream of becoming a part of Warcraft. He visited Blizzard's headquarters, was able to talk with the developers, and even created and voiced a character that became part of the game. This torrent
Damn.
from Mulgore. And to make Ezra even a bit happier, the developers gave him a mount that was impossible to obtain at the time. The Ashes of Allah. When he received the Ashes of Alar, no one else in the world had managed to obtain it yet.
This is such a beautiful like story. Like these are like the many stories that like WoW has within its community and what makes the game great. Don't follow the haters. Don't believe the people telling you that you suck at the game, that you are lame, and that you should fucking like stop playing because you struggle. Like listen to these stories. This is where the magic actually happens.
He became the first player in the world to receive it. Unfortunately, in 2008, Ezra passed away. The community was saddened by this news, and thousands of compassionate players decided to hold a march in the arenas to honor the fallen hero. A legendary blunder by the game master occurred in Lich. Once, a player had some issue with loot and decided to contact support to resolve the item problem. However, instead of help from the game master, the player received something even better. A chestplate called Martin Fury.
Yeah, this exists. Like, so this quality of items, a reliquary, like relics, is actually like dates from vanilla, actually. Kill all enemies in a 30-yard radius. Cheater. 100 charges. Like in private servers, there's a couple of it. There was like also warglaves. Like there was like warglaves, um, this item, and I think a ring or like something. Like there were like three basically like reliquary items back in the day, back in vanilla. But like this quality dates from vanilla. Like above legendary reliquary, it dates from vanilla.
It was a test item from the developers. When using the chestplate, mobs in the selected area would instantly die, and it didn't matter whether it was a boss or a boar in Durotar. The player and his guildmates decided to take advantage of this opportunity to easily clear the recently opened.
Basically, the dudes like became like random guild, became world first during a race of Ulduar, like out of nowhere. And then they were like, why did we got banned? Like, how did they know? Like, imagine like so there was like the world first race for like Undermine not too long ago, right? Imagine like there is like the stream of Method, um, Liquid, and like I don't remember like basically like it was yeah basically like the world race. Then random guilds show up and they fucking clear the world first like with full like without a streamer. Basically, this is what happened. And people are like, they must be cheating, and they're like, how did they figure this out? How did they know this?
Opened Ulduar raid. This, naturally, was quickly noticed. Top guilds were sweating for months to kill a boss, and some no-name guild called Starinechkovaya was killing them in mere moments. The developers removed Martin Fury, annulled the player's achievements, and also issued bans to the guild members, and not only to those who were in the raid, when the guild master was jokingly defeating bosses with this item. Over time, the developers unbanned them, but the bad taste remained. The fate of the game master who mistakenly gave the player the test item is unknown, but it was assumed that he was either fired or received a severe reprimand. And this incident went down in Warcraft history as almost the only case when a player received developer items. But I think the real disaster would have been if the guildmaster had used Martin Fury. Not in Ulduar, but sometime later in the Ice Crown. And the last one. At the moment, the incident involving the acquisition of a unique item was also connected with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I made a separate video about this story once. A terminally ill girl named Amara loved Warcraft. She reached out to this foundation to fulfill her long-held dream, to write her own small music track, which would become part of her favorite game. To hear it, players had to solve a large multi-layered puzzle in Karajan. As a reward for solving it, players received this cute cat, which was created based on the girl's real cat. Well, she was also given a unique mount, a Bengal tiger, which since the vanilla days had been shrouded in layers of legends and speculations.
I think you can only get it from like cards, cards. Remember WoW cards? No one knows about WoW cards, like card codes.
It was believed that there was a cave in the Stranglethorn Vale where some merchant sold this tiger. But that was just a big myth, and obtaining the Bengal tiger was impossible. It existed only in the game files. The developers gifted her the tiger and made her the very first owner of this mount in the game. In the last years of her life, the girl did not sit idly by. In her district, there was an issue with a large company, 3M, which for decades improperly disposed of and dumped toxic waste and was caught polluting with so-called forever chemicals. Specifically with this particular name. This was believed to be closely related to the abnormally high number of people in her town who died from cancer. She, by the way, also had a rare and incurable form of this disease. Amara, along with her like-minded supporters, was advocating for the passage of a law that would ban the use of these forever chemicals in her state, Minnesota. The bill, which went through 9 circles of bureaucratic hell and disputes with a megacorporation, was passed. Unfortunately, Amara passed away 2 weeks before its adoption, but it is likely that, through this, she saved the future lives of the residents of her district.
Damn.
There was an event in Vanilla. With the first invasion of the undead, necropolises of the Scourge began to appear in Azeroth, and terrible living dead began to land on Earth. During this event, you could obtain a set called Undead Slayer Armor. This set consisted of 3 items. The items were obtained as quest rewards during this event. In the quests, you had to kill the Scourge and defeat foes. Nothing remarkable for Warcraft of those years. After the event ended, it became impossible to obtain the items for 2 years. The opportunity to get items from the set reappeared. It came before the start of the Wrath of the Lich King, when the developers launched a repeat, more extensive and colorful event with the Scourge Invasion. At that time, the developers temporarily opened the opportunity to obtain these unavailable items. Still, in the Lich, during this event, you could obtain the famous Arcanite Ripper. This weapon was an epic axe that looked like a guitar. By the way, you could actually play the Arcanite Ripper. When using the weapon's ability, the character would flip the axe and start playing it.
This was used like for for footage of L30 etc. Like check this out. Like this was used for like some really like cool project later on. Like, and you can see them. It's still in. They're still in the Burning Crusade expansion. Like here you can see the Arcanite axe, and you can actually get the item in the black market in the game.
Like on some kind of rock guitar, after the event ended, neither the set nor the axe could be obtained anymore. By the way, speaking of weapons, it would be a sin not to mention the dungeon. Oldaman. This dungeon is famous for items that drop with an incredibly low chance. The drop rate is so low that players have to spend years farming for the desired items. Among the desired items are the Papal Fez and the Pendulum of Doom. The drop chance for these items is almost zero, and on the in-game auction they are priced at about 2 million gold. If these 2 million gold are converted into game subscription tokens, the player can play Warcraft for free, from 7 to 9 months depending on the game region. Quite a lot. It is still not very clear why the developers decided to make the items in this particular dungeon so rare. For example, this player had to complete 2,000 runs on current servers, and almost 3,000 runs on Classic Realms, to obtain the Pendulum of Doom. And in total, more than 3.5 years were spent on everything. And this person had to complete over 7,300 runs for this axe. In short, it will take years to obtain all the rare items in the dungeon. Besides the Pendulum of Doom and the Papal Fez, there are at least 5 more items worth noting. These are the Kylos 5000, a rare axe with a drop chance of 1 in 1,000%, the Miner's Cap of the Depths, the Shadowgore, Bushmaster, On the Shoulders of Lost Ages, and the Hammer Drill. Maybe these items aren't as expensive and valuable as the Pendulum of Doom, but on the in-game auction, they also go for about 1.5 million gold each. People who obtain these items are either very lucky or extremely dedicated farmers who spent many months of their lives acquiring them. The recipe for artichoke tea. This
Okay, just give me a...
item in some
So this also like is in the black market, so I don't know. Never understood it. It is technically like really good, but I don't know.
ways is a mistake. It used to be sold by an NPC in Hillsbrad. The problem was that not all players could obtain this recipe, only rogues who completed a specific class quest chain. The recipe was used to create a tea that restored 100 energy points to a rogue. However, it was discovered that the recipe could be sold on the in-game auction. Most likely, the developers did not want this. They intended for only rogues who completed the corresponding class quests to possess this recipe.
No, it was probably a mistake.
Everyone who has the cooking skill. Therefore, the recipe was soon replaced with an identical recipe that, once purchased, was bound to the player's character. But the old version, which could be sold anywhere, did not disappear. It could still be sold and used whenever one wished. This led to the original recipe rapidly increasing in value on the in-game auction, especially after the quests that granted access to the recipe were removed with the release of the Cataclysm. In 2010, the recipe could be bought for 25,000 gold. In 2014, it was selling for several 100,000 gold, and closer to the Legion, the price was approaching $1 million. At that
Uh,
time, with that amount of money, you could play for almost a year or even longer for free in Warcraft thanks to subscription tokens. On the forums, there were even occasional rare players who found the original tea recipe on their old abandoned accounts. However, in the Legion, the developers decided to bring the tea back into the game and added an NPC in the Legion from whom it could be purchased. And in Dragonflight, the developers decided to make it so that the recipe could be randomly obtained from mobs in dungeons. So the value of the recipe is not as great as it used to be. By the way, on old accounts, players managed to find even more exotic items. For example, in Lich, there was a promotional event with a famous actor and wrestler named Mr. T. The developers created his prototype within the game, a kind of brutal elf. And this elf could also give you a special grenade. When the grenade was thrown at another player, it would place a mask with the elf's face on them, resembling Mr. T himself. It was a short event, after which the grenades, along with Mr. T himself, were removed from Warcraft. However, there are very rare players who have managed to keep the buff with the elf mask to this day. Allegedly, the last person to appear with this buff on the game forums was a user with the nickname The Nan Harmony. On his old alt, the buff for the mask still has 3 minutes left. And at the time of posting the message on the forums, the player had kept this buff for almost 13 years. But, unfortunately for him and other people who had kept this buff for years, the grenade from Mr. T became available again. Recently, on the 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft, the developers brought the legendary elf back into the game. And among other things, the anniversary vendors were selling those very grenades with the cosmetic buff. So the uniqueness of the original buff keepers was lost.
well, technically it's a good thing. Like fucking like, you give people what they want and don't be oppressive. Like don't be mean about like fucking like it's set for like a couple players, but it's good stuff.
Previously, Blizzard periodically opened temporary tournament arena servers. On these realms, players could immediately get good PvP gear, form teams with their friends, and without delay, head into battle against other players in the arenas. The very best players had the opportunity to earn a couple of rewards in the form of pets, or even the chance to participate in major arena events, tournaments with prize pools. Rewards also included titles. Access to these realms, by the way, was not free. Players had to purchase tickets, and only after buying them could they access these realms. In 2013, the last tournament arena servers were closed, and players were given a commemorative title as a farewell. Conqueror. It was awarded to all arena teams on these realms that managed to enter the top 1,000 before they were closed. The achievement was transferred to regular servers as well. Given that almost 12 years have passed since this title was awarded, there are hardly any Conqueror title holders left. Only a rare few remain, and not on every server. By the way, speaking of rare titles, it would be remiss not to mention two more titles that are not much less rare than the Conqueror. These are the High Warlord, for the Horde and the Grand Marshal, for the Alliance. They could be obtained if a player in the original vanilla was an extreme no-lifer. This is because the titles were unlocked by achieving the maximum 14th PvP rank. I have talked many times about how difficult it is.
Yeah, this was like quite the fucking grind. Like you needed to be good and to have like spend all your days like just grinding. Like there is like also like the world first. Basically like back in the day, world first you get rewarded with like a title if you finish the raid first in your realm or in the world. It was in the realm. In the realm.
To summarize, in order to farm the title, players would have to spend several months in hardcore grinding, on the battlegrounds. And considering that each week players lost a certain percentage of points, of honor, and the amount of honor points required to move to a new rank was constantly increasing, it required grinding enemies literally every day for hours. 10 to 15. After vanilla, the ranking system was reworked, and earning these titles became impossible for several years. They remained only with the rare PvP players from vanilla. However, things changed after a couple of expansions. In Cataclysm, both of these titles and the corresponding achievements were decided to be updated. After Cataclysm, these titles could be obtained not only by holders of the 14th rank in vanilla, but also by those who managed to reach a 2400 rating in arenas, which also requires tremendous effort. But at least this opportunity still exists now. Thank you for watching. Good luck!
Okay, so this was the rarest and most unique items. Yeah, these stories I'm so used to like listening to these stories and knowing them. It's been so long. Thank you, Nick War for this video. This was good stuff. Yeah, I'm so used to actually like knowing these stories that for me it's actually like I'm like yeah, you probably heard about it. Who the fuck heard about like fucking the but also like beautiful stories. Like this is actually the good stuff about WoW. Like these stories about like just keeping people together. Like that's why I said like don't listen to the haters, don't listen to the people just jaded and just um just basically rude and vulgar and just like mean to you in the game. Listen to these stories and keep playing because then the magic happens, the magic happens.